being here. So I'm Tom Bushlack. I'm joined here by the wonderful and talented Christine Domer. So she is a general manager of a rubber lab in Akron, Ohio. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you got it.
Okay. Also describes herself as what, a lifelong project? Is that how you put it?
Yeah.
And a yoga instructor. And you've coined your own kind of yoga, and it's called what again? Sloth yoga.
Sloth yoga. If
Okay.
you, yeah, yeah.
Some of us call that gentle yoga.
That's very, very, very gentle yoga. Very
Yeah.
slow.
And most recently, just completed our program together for the Centered and Purposeful Leader and the Centering for Wisdom process. So lots of great insights that you've had along the way, and I just appreciate you being here to do this.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's really
So,
good.
what would you add to your intro in terms of what people should know about you and how we kind of met and worked together?
Yeah, I've known you for a couple of years through Insight Timer, okay?
Mm.
And I've been using Insight Timer for quite some time. And I actually had the Contemplative Prayer app on my phone probably for a few years now. I had a false start on it, but I was never plugged into a group before. So I have explored the contemplative prayer, but and enjoyed, but I never, got the disciplined approach to it like I did. I felt like this group really helped me get going. Yeah, so I've been doing. I think that the yoga end of it, maybe 10 years ago, really got me into the meditation mode. Okay,
Okay.
and then I wanted to turn it towards something more divine.
Mm-hmm.
And though I feel like with the yoga, I think I had a break with my church, I don't know, 20 some years ago, probably.
This
And
was like the church that you grew up in?
yeah, the kind of a
Okay.
crisis of faith. And it was just like, you know what? This isn't it. This just, wasn't working for me. And I saw,
Sorry, do you mind my asking? Like, what was it that wasn't working? Was it just
well,
not making sense? It didn't feel like a good
yeah,
fit?
yes, all of that. And
Okay.
I thought, this isn't Christ. This isn't Christ-like. And it was if you give me 5 minutes, I can go. I don't know if I ever told you, but it was,
Mm.
I grew up kind of in a, well, I guess I'm thinking I grew up, through the 60s and 70s, patriarchal, churchy. The church was a fundamentalist background, Christian fundamentalist background. I mentioned it's similar to Baptist type, but I
Mhm.
don't want to offend anybody that might be listening. It was, there was a lot of good people and all that,
Sure. Yeah.
but I got into the I bought into some of the beliefs that were fear-based, okay?
Mm.
And I think that's what didn't work for me after a while. I was in a terrible marriage, okay, for probably my own fault, in a codependent relationship and all that. And there was drugs, alcohol, there was addiction, my addiction to cigarettes and whatnot, and it was just enabling. I was the enabler, okay.
Yeah, just
Um,
not a healthy
no,
situation.
no. So I grew up as an enabler, and my mother was in. I don't want to go that far back, but I grew up. My mother was
However far back you want to go is fine. Yeah.
one wonderful, wonderful woman, and chronically depressed,
Mm.
okay, and had a lot of. It probably wasn't diagnosed properly, but could have been bipolar. But she was down more than she was up.
Yeah.
But awesome woman, and introduced me to the love of poetry and music.
Mm.
She had a heart, and she really brought me into the church, really. And Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord, be still and know that I'm God. I learned my Bible verses from her to begin with as
Okay.
a 5 or 6 year old, and the Psalms and such. So I feel like I had that kind of foundation, and she had the true love. She loved, she loved the divine.
Mm.
And I was going through the church. Anyway, I think the crisis of faith happened when I decided to get it divorced out of an verbally abusive, and just wasn't going to happen. The church basically attacked me.
Mm.
But it was such a good thing because it broke me free. I had these people on pedestals, And I learned, I'm like, wow, it woke me up
Mm.
to, okay, so I am going to, okay, so divorce is the unpardonable sin. I'm going to go to hell, whatever I am, and that
Which,
really
by the
woke.
way, nobody's really figured out what Jesus was talking about there, right?
What does it mean? What does it
I
mean?
mean, there are lots of
But
different theories about what he meant, but
divorce, but I felt condemned by my church, but I didn't feel condemned by God.
yeah.
I never did. I never did. But I walked away from the church because I thought, this is ugly. And
Mm.
you guys are, almost, I got a touch of misogyny. I got that. And I'm like, what is this about? But, I fed into that society too. I fed into that patriarchal. My mother was a Syrian, wonderful cook and hospital, wonderful, awesome hospitality and served others. And, I grew up doing that and I still do that. I'm mothering, nurturing, serving, which is not a bad thing.
No, I mean, you talked about
Yeah.
finding a lot of joy in like hosting dinner parties and having friends over and things like that.
It's
Yeah.
joy. It's joy to
Yeah.
serve. It's a joy. But at the same time, too, I want to do it out of love and not need to
Yeah.
be needed to be loved, So I've had to go through all that. What is real? What's not, so that's the divine therapy process. I want to do things for the right reasons and not because I'm compelled or it's compulsion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that you use that divine therapy phrase. So some people
Oh,
might be familiar with that, but
mm,
like, well, and then that's something we've talked about, but how do you understand that process that,
yeah. Um, boy, divine therapy. I think I've been in most of my life, all of my life. Gosh. Divine therapy, though, I heard that term, I think, not all that long ago, from a quote from Keating, I think it was.
yeah, it's Keating's phrase. Yep. Thomas
Keating's
Keating.
phrase. Okay. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's what this is. Um, I would say, the yoga and the meditation process helped me get more in touch with my feelings, okay, and my body and where I was feeling anxiety or anger or things like. And I thought it was so valuable. It still is so valuable to be in touch with the mechanics of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really valuable in that regard. The contemplative prayer process, there's something going deeper than the feelings, okay, a lot deeper than the feelings, and letting things go and surrender to the divine. And it's not what I'm doing. That's what's so interesting to me. I thought this is something I'm doing, okay, and it's not about me anymore.
Mm.
That's where I don't know how to put it, but there's something in the last 8 weeks where we were together, in the group, that something the light bulb went off, and I thought, this isn't me. This isn't about my program and what I'm doing, and I do these steps and this and this and this, and then I'm going to get, I'm going to find enlightening, I'm going to be enlightening, enlightened, and I'm going to embody the light, and I'm going to walk around, okay, whatever fantasy I had,
Yeah.
okay, so does that, anyway, that divine therapy it's about it's not on my time frame. Does that help? That's my view of it.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted, was like not what I would want, but how you would put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because I've seen this transformation in you, and I mean, maybe you're not walking around totally radiating light beams, but there have been some pretty big changes. So it's interesting how, yeah, we step into starting a practice or going deeper into a contemplative prayer meditation practice for lots of different reasons, and some of those maybe are based in control or what I'm going to do or have a certain outcome. And then you had that experience of kind of wading into it and then having this other whole dimension sort of opened up. And I think that's the hardest part to explain if somebody hasn't done that process. So I guess, Can you say a little bit more about what you discovered there that was like surprising?
Yes, probably a couple things that were surprising to me. And I think I had mentioned this to you, and I don't know, it was like halfway, more than halfway through. Um, I was surprised. I was surprised about the love. Okay. I was surprised about the love. I was surprised to feel it. I was surprised to feel it from the divine. I can almost cry when I think about it, when I say that. Um, I didn't know. I didn't expect that was what it was going to be about. I came into it because my anxiety level before this process was at end of May, and during the COVID, I quit vaping. Okay, I had quit smoking for 20 years, and I started again 4 years ago when I started this job. And then I'm like, I gotta stop. I just got sucked in again. It was addiction, and I got sucked in again. And I went to vaping a year ago, but then May timeframe, I quit vaping, but my anxiety level has been out the roof. And I was using, I didn't realize how much the nicotine was helping me numb my feelings. Once that was gone, I wasn't numb anymore, and the anxiety levels were really high. I was trying all kinds of insight timer, more yoga, exercise, which helps. But I thought, I'm not going to go on anti-anxiety medicine or whatnot. I'll get through this. I just recognized I had to get through it. I saw something on this contemplative prayer, and I'm like, okay, that's going into something deeper. And it's appealing. It's like, God help me. And I think that was my
Literally.
prayer. God help me.
Yeah, that's the divine therapy.
That was it. It was
Yeah.
like, I think there was a prayer, like, how do I need to get through this. God help me. And I think that's where I was led to this process.
So
I was trying to ease anxiety. I was trying to have more peace. I wasn't trying, and then I thought, oh, I'll get enlightened maybe, in the process. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's more than, yes. Anyway, that's where I.
So was the anxiety raising because of the new job situation? Or no? Okay.
I think it was more withdrawing from I had that withdrawing from the nicotine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think I was using the nicotine to numb out. Okay. And I was gone, that now I got off the nicotine, and nothing to numb me out now. I'm feeling everything, instead of just, okay, this guy's stressing me out. I'm going to go and have my nicotine.
Yeah.
That'll calm me down. And, sometimes it would be, yoga or taking walks and such, but I didn't realize how much I was dependent on it. So that's, I realized, okay, but part of that is time. It takes time to get over those addictions.
Even physiologically. Yeah.
It takes time. And that's been 3 or 4 months now, something like that. May, June, July, August, September, 4 months now. A lot easier now.
Yeah.
But, I suppose we can numb our feelings all kinds of ways, bags of Doritos and things like this, whatnot. But
I prefer chocolate, but
yeah. Chocolate and nicotine's is a really addictive one. Imagine alcohol. Yeah, that one never grabbed me, but I like a glass of wine from time to time.
Yeah.
But in any case, I came to this like that. The contemplative process then, with just the discipline of every day, the 20 minutes in the morning and the 20 minutes in the afternoon or midday, somewhere along the line, I thought, oh, I like this, but then it was a matter of, I felt the love, and I needed that. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. I think that, let me tell you something else about, it is part of the job too. My life process, and it's just maybe it's my delusion or whatever of how I've, gone through different jobs and such, but it seems to me, and it may be true of men and women, you change jobs, or you change bosses, or things change, you meet new friends and such. you change a job, you tend to, okay, you're starting over on your value. What value do you bring to the organization, to your relationship, to your new friendship, to your new boss or whatnot? Your scale of 1 to 10, you gotta start over when you start a new job or whatever. I was feeling in the last 10 years, and I don't know if it's me or, it's my age or this organization. I'm thinking, okay, I'm starting over. Oh, another regime change. Okay, now I don't want to say too much in case I don't think anybody's going to hear it from my workplace, but we get another regime change, and I'm thinking I'm not starting at zero here. I'm starting at -5 or 10.
Sure.
If I can get to zero, because I'm an aging woman now. I don't know. I have had felt that, and I'm like, what do I do about this? How do I fix myself? What if I get fired because they just don't they want a younger version of me? Or I've been feeling that.
Yeah.
And I needed that message that it doesn't matter. I don't have to prove myself anymore. Stop proving it. Just be. And the value, forget trying to prove, it'll come and it'll, whatever. If it doesn't, if I get fired, whatever, I'll find another place where they appreciate the material science background that I have or whatnot, or my management style, which I tend to want to empower people. I don't have that regimented material, what is it? Yeah, there's chain of command. Of course, there's chain of command and such, but there's also, I am a believer in trying to empower people as much as you can.
Sure.
And that doesn't always go over well with some old school management and such. So I'm going through those things, and I'm questioning, oh man, I'm trying to prove myself again. I'm in that cycle again, and a regime change, and I'm so tired and I'm sad. And but I'm allowing myself to feel those sad feelings. I'm allowing myself to feel anxiety when I have it. That's the contemplative process. Just allow these things and don't try to, this is another Keating thing. And I don't know which of his quotes it was, but it hit me hard. It hit me home hard. Don't try to, powerlessness is a good thing. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like where God can do his deepest work with you, the divine therapy, to do the deepest work. Don't be in a hurry to fix things in your life. Don't be in a hurry, because that's where I get the addiction. The addiction was a quick fix.
Sure.
To get release or whatever that relaxation response was that the nicotine gave me, or whatever gives me what. But it's like, don't be in a hurry. Allow myself to feel these feelings. And it's okay, and go deeper with what this is about. And I find that that's the divine therapy part of it. So that was a big thing for me in this process of the 8 weeks. The other thing was that we're peeling away the onion, Tom.
Yeah.
And there was something that was occurring at work, and I noticed, okay, normally I'm the fixer here. And it was just, I could see a group of people, these people and these people, and there were butting heads, and it was us against them. And I usually go in and as a cheerleader or whatnot and try to fix and mend and soothe and whatnot. And I thought, I'm going to step back from this and not jump in the middle and break things up or whatnot and try to fix this right away. Because I don't know if I would have done it that way with the contemplative, before the contemplative process. And I feel like I remember the follow-up or the week or so later, just walking around the building and just checking in with people and listening and not trying to fix anything, but just listen and connect. And that was such a better way. And I'm thinking, okay, what happened to all that business? I think whatever it was, somebody fixed it, but it wasn't me. It's
Sure.
like, but
Yeah.
it was, I don't have to, I can, yeah, sometimes we do want to give our energy and in service to what, whatever we need to, or whatever we're drawn to do. But there are some things that we should let be, or let happen, or give time to. It's that, don't try to fix everything right away, and let these, allow a space to be powerless, and give things space to develop and feel and come forth. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. And I think that this whole process has slowed me down to be less of a fixer. I'm a work in progress too here, but
Of course. Yeah.
less of a fixer.
Yeah. Well, and that was really remarkable too. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about that situation, and that you were recognizing the ways that you might normally react and kind of jump in
Yeah.
and feel like this. I think this is pretty human nature, right? Pretty common. You're the manager, you're the leader, so it's your job to get in there and like fix it or resolve the situation. But you were recognizing that drive to do it, but also kind of seeing that as an attempt to control.
Yeah.
And, what you realized that I think was really fun to watch you kind of go through this process was, yeah, I could do that. And I could probably get the outcome that I want from a surface level. But it was kind of like you were in this space of like, well, what if I notice my reaction and I show up? It's not that you like ignored it, right? Because that would be, then you'd just be irresponsible, which you're not as
Yeah.
a leader. But you didn't immediately impose yourself on it. And then you showed up and you were very intentional about checking in with people kind of one-on-one, right? And giving them space to process it. Um, and it's like that opened up a different way for your team to engage in a dynamic that I think the outcome was, in some ways it was, you were almost like, where'd that problem go? Like it sort of resolved. And have you, I guess we haven't talked about it in a couple of weeks, but have you noticed anything since then, or any other changes in the team? Or
It's been, gosh, we go through so many problems in a week.
yeah,
I can't.
that's basically the, if you're in a
That's
leadership.
life. I mean, but that particular problem, I was thinking, was it the full moon? Was it, I don't, what were we saying? Mercury in retrograde back then? I
Oh
don't
yeah, that's right, it
know.
was that
It,
week. Yeah.
it was that week, and I thought, what is going on? It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know. Part of this too is, I think, with COVID, and there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of going on. It's almost like people need to get a pass, or a little bit of time too.
Yeah.
They need some, there might be some venting that just needs to go on too. But I think becoming less of a fixer and less of a controller, and let things, you're right. I don't, there's a fine line. I'm not becoming irresponsible or shirking what I need to do, but maybe I approach it in a softer way,
Yeah.
which is a better way. And it's easier on me too. It's like,
Yeah.
don't have to do that anymore.
It's exhausting feeling like I have to be responsible for everything all the time.
Yeah,
And it's kind of a trap of being in a leadership role that is, again, it's human nature.
I had one this week where someone came to me and was just, venting and such, and venting, and I allowed, I was very attentive to it, and listened very attentive to the conversation. And then it was a matter of, okay, what's the next, I'm asking them, what is the next step? I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
What do you think is the next step? I didn't offer advice. I did ask, I might have asked somewhere in my, are you venting, or do you want some advice, before, or you just need to vent, what's the next step? But I'm thinking that this is helping me add a little more space to my life.
Mm-hmm.
and making me, really helping me as a manager in relationships, my granddaughter, it's just giving, I can see that it's working in me, and it's a divine therapy. It's like, that's what God's working in me, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people might resonate with some of your path, which is that the growing anxiety that you were experiencing, maybe partly from, this was kind of before backing up a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
And then trying some different meditation apps and things like that, and you've been trained in yoga, so you knew it pretty well. And there was something else that you were hungry for that you found in here. And I think that's, again, it's kind of hard to explain what that is, but once you taste it, then it's really transformational and powerful.
It certainly is. It's almost like, I know at some point you were explaining the circles with Keating, the circles, the outer, there's a surface stuff, and then there's a layer of, the spiritual, or there's some. It was
like the surface level of our awareness, and then our spiritual level of
power stuff, and that the new age gets caught in that stuff, and then there's the deeper layers, and I think the contemplative way takes us to that deeper. We cut through all we and even if it's I'm 20 minutes, and I think maybe there were about 5 seconds where I cut through to the source out of that 20 minutes, maybe. I don't know, but it was so worth it,
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a microsecond, but it's powerful.
Yeah. And those moments where you realize it's happening, it's probably also happening at non-conscious levels, like we've talked about, kind of going beyond just our conscious awareness, that we make space for deeper transformations to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Can you say a little bit about some of the relationships where you've seen the change as well?
Wow. Okay.
I mean, you mentioned, I think, your granddaughter and maybe your husband. I can't remember if you mentioned that or not. But
there's been, I think that instead of giving more space, instead of reacting, or I can feel maybe some anger welling up, and it's like, okay, whatever. And then, I remember, with my husband, I'll say this one, because I remember him, he was nitpicking about something. Can't remember, but I can't remember. It was how
at the time, I'm sure it was really annoying.
Yeah. How I was unloading the dishwasher. I don't know, something like that. It was something and I could feel and then it was like, okay, no. And I just quiet for a moment, and I said, did you mean to say that like that, in that tone to me? You can ask me to do this without that tone. It's okay. I'm glad to do it for you. And I'm thinking, who just said that?
Yeah, because we'd rather just kind of slap them and,
Yeah, it's like, or, snap back or something, or who just said that? And I thought, oh gosh, okay, God, you gave me a different way to say things. Or, I just felt like that was the divine therapy, or there's something, it's not me, it's grace, or something. You gave me grace in that moment.
Yeah.
I need it 50 more times today, but, I needed grace in that moment.
50 more times in the next minute. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay, well, but the other thing is the gentleness. If I do, you fall, but you're more gentle. The gentleness, coming back gently to, it's okay. Being more gentle with myself. I'm finding I'm more gentle with other people.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Big time. And I've that's a big thing.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that that is fun to watch is we start with, it's like this, it's surface level things, not to say that they aren't important, but like anxiety or our reactions are things that are more on the surface level. And we start to do this work that gets us down in there. And then there's a shift to this different way of being. Like we show up with a different presence that is more open to the divine flowing through us in the moment. And then that ends up, we react differently, but then that also ends up giving space to others around us to also respond differently. And there can be a real tenderness and intimacy that opens up in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking with my granddaughter, it's been a tender time with her, because she just moved out of the house and there was all this drama. But it's okay. And just being a support there. And she has said a few things. Oh, Grandma, what would I do without you? Like, well, I don't know what I would do without you. She's a lover to the moon and back. I said, I don't know, Nikia, I'm always here for you. So it's just a beautiful, I don't know, a lot of love. And but again, I don't want to be the fixer there. So it's like giving my granddaughter space to just space,
Well, and the title that we called this talk even was Fixer to Healer. You're giving her some space.
Yeah.
You're giving her some space to actually find healing rather than just fixing the problem and then having it, like keep coming back and I'll keep fixing it. But instead she feels this sense of like home base with you that is safe.
And I've mentioned to her, Nikia, have you ever considered, do you know what meditation is? And we taught, oh yeah, I know, Grandma, I can't do that, like, okay. But, I look at it, plant seeds, maybe when I'm long dead and gone, she'll seek that out. I don't know. I don't know. But it's like, and I've told her it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
The contemplative prayer and meditation. And I said, it's like, I makes all the difference in the world,
Yeah.
So I put a few seeds here and there, and we'll just, let it go.
That's all you can do is plant the seed. And,
it could be when I'm long dead by the time, I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. But I think that is an interesting thing. Again, there's a lot of interest right now in mindfulness and different kinds of meditation. And like, I have absolutely nothing against or even criticisms of any of that. What I find is that some people are looking for something a little bit more is the only word I can think of. I mean, I think even you talked about it, that the contemplative dimension opens up at a deeper level. And that's where I like going with people. And that's why it's been so fun to work together on this.
Yeah. It does open up, some of these things, the anxiety and sadness, or working through your feelings, and even working through the layers, you can achieve a lot through Zen meditation and that meditation methodology and that science of, the neuroscience and the physiology of it. But there's the contemplative process. It's, can you fall in love with the divine? Maybe you can, through that. I don't know, but I know
that's certainly what lots of people have said over the years, that's their experience. And you've confirmed that.
Yeah. It's just, that I think is the big thing it surprised me, because I didn't have that in the Zen meditation methods, though I did find relief. You do find relief in, definitely relief in the emotional energy dissipation and such, yoga and exercise and meditation. There was a Satanama. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I've heard that one, yeah.
I find that one very good for memory and focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good for that.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it for a while, and I can't remember anything now, Just kidding. I don't know. But
that's the nice thing about the method too, with the centering prayer meditation, is you don't have to remember anything, just a word. Yeah. And then you get to let everything else go into that cloud of forgetting and unknowing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's given me it's opening up. It's funny. I recognize now I'm reading, I told you I was reading Shin Young, okay, The Science of Meditation. I just finished that one, which was awesome book. He's like a neuroscientist and a Zen, Buddhist, and he knows, I don't know, 5 languages and whatnot. It's amazing because from the science side of it, it tickled my brain, and it
Yeah,
was, love it. I love it. And actually, he's really good at explaining the realms, much like what Keating, the circle,
sure.
such, just awesome. Um, and but reading it and going back, and I've gone through some of the quotes, and I'm thinking, now that I've been doing the contemplative process, I look at it differently. And
Mm,
he does, there is some science in this, and there's some, the physiological changes.
absolutely.
Absolutely, there are. But reading through the Tao now, the Tao Te Ching, and reading back through the Psalms and such, it just goes to, um, gosh, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. I'm seeing things in a different way now. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know what's happening.
Well,
Does that make sense to you?
well, it does actually. It might not to people watching, but it does, because we talk about, one of the classic texts in the Christian contemplative tradition is the cloud of unknowing, and being willing to walk into the space of not knowing, not being, and or Buddhists have the I guess the analogous idea of beginner's mind, that you're always a beginner. But I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I wonder if this is partly what you were getting at with that, with reading the Psalms and the Tao and the Bhagavad Gita, and that what you see are those underlying threads of grace that unify everything, and the tenderness that is in that.
Yeah. It's almost like, oh yeah. It's like I see the words now that I saw before, but it's like, oh yeah, I know that. And
Mm.
what was it? I mentioned to you before, Heraclitus.
Yeah,
Heraclitus, even that's like a Greek philosopher, 5th or 6th century or something like that.
BC. Yeah,
There was, there's these nuggets of things he said, which, with old bones of, this amazing beast that he was. I don't know what, it's kind of crazy, but he, um, it was something about transcending personality. To transcend your personality, you have to go to the source of where all the personality comes from.
oh yeah.
Something like that. And there was another way of, the way to God, or the way to the divine, is through the self. And I thought, oh yeah, we're diving through, and this was 5th or 6th century BC, long, it's long before Keating's diagram of that circle. We're
Yeah,
cutting
but it
through
was
that.
always the same human nature and the same,
Yeah, it's
source of love.
yeah, and it's all the source. It's always been there through the ages. And I think of the Tao Te Ching, who I'm not sure who, I don't know if they know who wrote that, but it's um there's one chapter, and I think I posted it in the one Facebook group,
Yeah,
on I think it was the space, but chapter 27 is profound to me, and it's like, what is a good man but a bad man's job, and what is a bad man but a good man's, or what is a good man but a bad man's teacher, what is a bad man but a good man's job. And then it's like,
this idea that oh,
we
sorry.
if we don't understand that, we get lost, and we get lost in moral, judgments. We get lost in judgment. It's the duality. It's all about duality, and we get lost in, and I'm thinking in where it comes from is, and he said, the Tao says this is the great secret, and it's surrendering judgment. That's what it's about. It's surrendering judgment. I think you had something about surrendering judgment, and I'm like, I went right to that chapter, and I see it. It's like I read that before. I've read that several times before and didn't see it before. Now it's like, oh yeah,
Because you've had an experience of being
yeah,
outside of that judging. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's, I think, where you know people maybe get frustrated with the religious tradition that they grew up with is it gets caught up in that judgment, which is
Yeah.
really sort of the opposite of what Christ and all the teachers, have been saying, which is, at least that's how I read that quote from the Tao. That's how I took it, was, to not see ourselves as separate from one another, and that it's the constant judging and critical mind that creates that sense of separateness that fosters our suffering. And so the practice that we explored and went deep into, and now you've got this foundation for a lifelong practice, is a way of knowing that there's a way of being that's outside of that judging. And it's so liberating, because suddenly you can be just who you are and not feel like, well, I can only be this person here and I have to censor myself, or I have to be against that person. As we head into November elections, everything in our culture is pushing us towards separateness and violence and anger,
Yeah.
And the contemplative is really, I think, called to bring a different kind of presence into that space.
Yeah, there's so much there's craziness. It's like, okay, if you don't like the facts, you make up some crazy stories.
And it doesn't matter what side you're on.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's like, wow, to be in the middle of all that. And it's like, oh man, yeah, we're coming up on that. And this whole process is so important to get ourselves grounded. So we're grounded for others and the world, and whatever we can ground out through the contemplative process is not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt, because it's wow, there's a lot of I don't know if it's because there's so much available now on TV and on in the news, and you see this stuff constantly now. Has it always been there, or is it just lately? It just seems like it is a lot.
Yeah.
Of
and we need
extreme emotions going on, and it's
right.
Oh boy, how do we process that, and how do we see each other? How do we see each other really? How do we listen and see each other, even if we don't maybe not agree politically? What's this person really trying to say, or what are they afraid of, or what's going on here? And I feel these I was a lot listening to the one person who just lost or I was listening to one man who was it his brother or was it his son that was shot in the back 7 times? He's alive, but, but he's paralyzed.
The one in Kenosha.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was upset about his son being with his ankle handcuffed to you feel man, there's some real I guess it's seeing these people, seeing everyone, seeing people, trying to see people fresh.
Yeah.
And you are going to, you see anger on both sides, and how do you see those and hear them? I don't know what, there's some things, what do you say? Sometimes it's just you're there.
Yeah, I think it's listening. Listening is really the first process in contemplative practice or in relationship. Yeah.
And what do I do personally about this? I'm isolated. I'm working full time, and I'm even in isolation in the work environment. I'm in work today, but we isolate from each other. We wear masks when we're around each other.
Right.
At home, I'm not out and about, and but I still have influence in some way. I can, I feel like I can still process this through. Maybe I can be there for my husband and my family if there's, they got to vent this stuff and whatnot. And my husband and I do support each other and vent with each other. What do we do about this?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think showing up in those public spaces with this presence is important too.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I don't know with voting coming up and whatnot. Who knows? Who knows?
Gonna be interesting.
There's more
Yeah,
to come, but
good
it's
to have it a practice to kind of let go of some of the toxic discourse. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know what? You do get tired. Every 4 years, this we get this
yeah,
anyway. It seems to be magnified this year. Maybe it's because of the COVID and
yeah,
in this pandemic in the middle of it. It seems to be more rough, rough,
yeah.
a little rougher than normal.
We should probably wrap up. By the way, Tony says hi. She was texting in
Oh,
the box. I forgot to say that earlier. I apologize.
Tony,
um,
I miss seeing her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know anything that you would add at the end here before we sign off, and anything I didn't ask you, or anything you would say to folks who might be considering, taking the plunge and doing this process.
Yeah, that's for me, I'm glad that I did it because I had false starts. I told you I already had that contemplative app on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that 7 weeks, which went really fast, it did solidify me in that. And it's like if I do nothing else in the day, that's it. It's almost we talked about goal setting, somewhere along that line. And actually I said, huh, my only goal is just to make sure I do that 20-minute set in the morning, and then I make sure that I hit it somewhere in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And because I don't know where this is taking me yet. I've always been, I've had these goals and these lists, and I've been driven by this and this and this. I'm going to drive, and what are my goals for this? And now all it is just every day showing up. And it's amazing. It's been actually extraordinary, the process. So if you haven't, and if anybody's listening and hasn't embarked on this process, it is extraordinary. It's painful. It's wonderful. It's loving. It's very deep. It goes very deep. So, and the more you surrender, it's pretty amazing. And I thank you for holding this course and with us. And wow, Tom, it was wonderful, and I appreciate it. All life changing, really.
Yeah.
Really. Oh, wow.
Well, I thank you for saying yes and showing up. And I like the way you put that it's painful and wonderful. It's like it holds it all.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. You
Yeah.
accept it all. And what's cool about it? I don't have to push that stuff away. Or eat a bag of Doritos and get rid of the anger. I don't know. I don't have
vape or whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't have to push. It's like I have this process that can contain all of it and then some. And wow, it's the divine therapy. Yeah, it can, and it's so liberating too.
Yeah.
The more I can let go of, the whatever. I don't know what's next and what's the next thing to work on every day. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
Whatever's next, but I can trust the process.
Yeah, and that was a cool piece for me too. It was, we started moving towards like goal setting and aligning, and what we came down to more was the importance of the intention, which is really, as we talked about throughout the whole time, the core of the practice is the intention that we offer to say yes to whatever's happening and to the divine presence in the moment. And that was interesting that you all kind of were like, let's just focus on the intention piece and let the goals and the external things kind of take care of themselves. And that's kind of liberating.
Yeah. It's not shirking our duties, really.
Right.
But it's like this process. It's like, I'm not going to go back to the goal setting the way I did it before. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's showing up to what the possibilities are without closing them down before it's time. Yeah. And sometimes even good goal setting can be can be that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Well, I'll put a quick note in here as well, and thank you for the kind words. That if anybody watching along is interested in having a conversation with me about applying some of this to your own work and your own life, your own leadership and relationships, stress, anxiety, all of that, I'll put a link to a place where you can go there at thomasjbushlack.com/apply. And that will take you to a page where there's a calendar that you can pick a time that works for you in the next couple of days. And we'll get on the phone and just have a conversation. It's and then if it fits, maybe we'll be here in a couple months doing a Facebook Live and seeing all the incredible transformation like Christine said. Well, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
And
we will talk to you soon.
And hi, Tony. Hi, Tony, if she's still there. Hi, Tony. I miss you. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.